Hey guys, welcome back. Today I thought we'd go around to two of our new tanks and talk about new tank syndrome and some of the things that you can do to help prevent little problems from arising during that new period before your tank is established. It's inevitable that you're going to come across some issues when your aquarium is in its first few weeks of life. It's just really important to be able to recognize those and how to deal with them so that way you can prevent them from becoming much larger issues that just turn your aquarium into something that you don't want to deal with at all. So on the newest tank that we set up down here, all is well for the first few days that we set it up because nothing really has a chance to do anything like as far as algae starting to grow, etc. But after you've had things set up for about a week or so, then you might start to see some things manifest. And this is all mostly because the environment is so new. Everything that is in this thing is looking to take advantage of the situation somehow. So we did have a little bit of cyano. I just went through and kind of pushed it aside that came through here that was dormant in the sand from before we even set this thing up. That just shows you how resilient certain microorganisms can be. This tank kind of accelerated its new tank syndrome from all the fish food that we have to add to feed all of our Curii tetras in here. It's just something that happens. The more fish you have, the more food you have to put in, the more waste your system has to deal with, and put that on top of having a new filter and you're bound to have some issues pop up. So once I started to see a little bit of algae pop up on the dragonstone here, you can see if I wave it around, there's some of it still attached there. I removed a lot of it already just by doing this. Now it's time to do a water change. Doing a water change is going to help to reduce the amount of whatever is fueling that algae and allowing it to take advantage here. In the meantime, before our whole system is properly established. So I'll go ahead and open up my siphon here. The Python water change, guys, is the best thing ever invented. I'm not going to turn the filter off or anything because there's not really much physical waste in here that's going to get kicked up as a result of me doing this maintenance right here. But if I was doing like a big gravel vac and moving rocks and kicking a bunch of stuff up, then that might be something that you want to do. Filter intake looks good. There's nothing really too big blocking it. Probably going to do like a 30 to 40% water change here. I'd probably just end up draining it to wherever the intake is of the filter, the top thing on the inlet, just so we don't start sucking air. So we'll probably stop it about right there, which looks like that could be maybe closer to 25%. While that's draining, I'm going to start to look around the tank here and try and identify anything that I can see that we want to get out of here. So there's a little pocket back here of that algae with some waste in it. So we'll move the siphon over, try and suck that up. It's kind of hard to do one-handed here. We'll try and just knock on the rock and get that into our siphon. There's not much really else we can do besides doing water changes when things are this early on. We are running a high-tech setup, so we got CO2 in here. I am playing with the amount of fertilizer that I'm adding to this. It's kind of a guessing game because every aquarium is different, but we definitely need to add something because we are increasing that demand of the plants with the CO2. So that could be a reason for why you have algae problems, although because this is such an early setup, I really don't think that me adding fertilizers to this aquarium is causing any of these little problems that are popping up. This is something that's typical and it's going to happen to pretty much any aquarium no matter what. If your aquarium is relatively new, 2-3 weeks, and you're seeing little issues pop up with different types of algae or like the cyano down there, don't freak out. It doesn't mean that your aquarium is doomed to have these problems for forever, but you do want to try and act as quickly as you can because the sooner you get on that, the sooner you can resolve those issues and help the entire system of your aquarium get mature enough and happy enough to naturally prevent those things from happening. We're starting to get close to this inlet, so I'm going to go ahead and close the siphon here. This makes it really nice. We can just take this from this tank and move it on to another one without having to restart it. Another reason why the pythons are awesome. Oh, and hey, look, there's my toothbrush. I've been looking for this thing. Before we start refilling it here, I am going to do something that I typically wouldn't do. I'm mostly just doing it for this video to give you guys some help maybe if this is your first tank that you set up. If you're doing like a fish in cycle and you're concerned about the nitrogen levels as well as some of the other factors on your aquarium, you can just do a quick little test strip here. You got to read the KH and the GH really quick, but then you can wait on the other stuff. This is going to give us an idea of our GH, KH, pH, as well as our nitrate and nitrite. So we're looking like 6.5 on our pH, and then our KH and GH right around 60 and 40 to 80, somewhere around there. So that checks out. That's normal for me. And then if you're doing that fish in cycle and you want to look at your nitrogen, so it looks like we have 0, for this. You got to look at it really carefully and make sure you wait the amount of time. I think it's like 60 seconds because it can get a little blurry there on the nitrate. So it could be 20 or it could be 0. As long as it's not showing really any pink color or red, then you're good. Those levels you don't want to see, but anything kind of below 40 here is okay. But we're typically not going to see that in, especially one of my tanks, my planted tanks, usually you never see nitrate in any amount just because the plants are so hungry, they're consuming that nitrogen. And that's of course with the help of the CO2. We know that nitrate accumulates in tanks that doesn't have CO2, even if there's a lot of plants. You'll tend to still see a little bit of accumulation. Liquid test kits are more reliable and they're going to give you a more accurate picture of what's going on, but I just use those kind of as a supplementary piece of information. If there was a huge problem, something weird was going on, it would tell me even on the test strip. So that's why I use it in this kind of a situation. And knowing that information is always going to help. So with that said, let's go ahead and let's turn our water on. This is probably going to get a little loud, so I won't make you listen to that for too long. The reason why I can fill straight from the hose like this is because we did not a huge volume. If we did 90%, then we're going to be dropping the water temperature a little bit too low. So we're doing just a small volume of water, shouldn't really move the temperature more than a couple, 2-3 degrees. And I'm also super lucky because my chlorine, my city water, very, very low. I've never had a problem without using dechlorinator, but I always do just in case. I like to use the Fritz Pond Guard because it's more concentrated than the regular stuff that's meant for aquariums, so I don't have to add as much, which is kind of nice. And again, because it's not really a big deal, I just kind of squirt it in and we're all good to go. If you are new and you're having a problem with your fish in cycle, you can obviously get some water conditioner that will neutralize things like ammonia and nitrate if those happen to be crazy out of control and you don't have any other options. So be on the lookout for there. There's a lot of different brands that make a similar product, but just know that that is a tool that can help you out if it's looking like it's turning into an emergency. And my favorite part of doing water changes is that I get to see a little bit of schooling activity out of the cur eyes. Pretty much the only time I see it. So cool. And that's looking like it's full enough for the time being. So there we have it. A freshly, roughly 20-25% water changed aquarium. And we're going to be doing the exact same thing over on our other new tank here. This is super common to have happen. You know, you get this little like weird fuzz string kind of algae in and on around the plants, on the substrate. And so we just need to come in here and we need to just try and vacuum it all out. Manual removal is always the best thing to do in this type of a situation, and it's gonna help a lot. So we'll get in here with our hand, I'll show you, and just kind of try and brush this stuff off, get it into the water column, so that way when we do our little 50% water change, probably on this tank, we can get most of it out, and then scrape the glass or anything else before we start to change that water. This tank is looking pretty good, and that's really all we can do. So we're back out at the tank, guys, just 3 days later, and unfortunately it looks like despite our water change and our little bit of maintenance, we still have this algae growing on these spots on the rocks where we tried to get rid of it the first time. It looks like whatever it is taking advantage of is still here. If we take a closer look at the substrate, we see the cyano also still persisting in some low levels down here, along with what looks like a little bit of diatom growth on the substrate. And this is just really par for the course, guys. You can't expect one water change one time to fix all of your issues. Again, this is a system that is just new, and it really takes time to get to a point where you don't see these things pop up. So we're going to basically do exactly what we have already done in this video. I won't bore you with showing you that whole process again. You just saw it, but this is just what we have to do. This is where, you know, you have to flex your dedication to aquariums to be kind of constantly doing this work, but it doesn't last for forever. You don't have to be doing this kind of work, you know, every 3 days, not for very much longer. And a lot of that has to do with what plants we have in here, the other factors, like, you know, we're running CO2 in this. So once we get our fertilizer dialed in and we get our lighting all where we want it and the filtration built up down there in the canister, because that will take some time. Hopefully it'll only be like another week or 2 of having to be involved with this tank before we can just kind of set it and forget it, which is how I like to keep my tanks. Try not to get too discouraged with little problems that pop up with your tank, guys. Like even over here on the bonsai tree tank, which has super well established plant growth, we still get green spot algae on the glass from time to time. We get some weird algae here and there. And I don't know if I've ever said it on this channel, but if you're somebody that hates doing maintenance to your fish tanks, then maybe this hobby isn't something that you should invest a ton of money into, because it's just part of the game. It's part of what you have to enjoy, getting involved with your fish tanks, getting your hands in the tank and moving things around, doing a little bit of work from time to time. It just makes it more rewarding for me, at least. But yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it for the video. I hope this helped somebody somewhere in some way. It's also a weekend, I think, Saturday, right? So we got another holographic sticker promo going on. Head over to Instagram to see what that is, because I don't know what it is yet. And we also did a big like sticker giveaway, 83 stickers over on the gram. So if you like stickers and you're not following me on Instagram, you need to do that. Probably going to do another big sticker giveaway here pretty soon, because I got a bunch of new designs coming in. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.